Mark didn't believe in any of it. Not ghosts, not cryptids, and definitely not but when his cousin Trevor invited him on a solo camping trip near Dead Horse Road in northeastern Arizona, he went anyway. It's not about the stories, Trevor said. It's about silence. You feel something out there, the kind of quiet that makes you listen to yourself. That was a week ago. Now, Mark was sitting by a dying campfire, flipping the safety off his rifle. The desert doesn't forget. They deparked the truck off an old reservation road and hiked 3 miles up an unmarked trail. The closest town was 50 miles south. The land stretched out in all directions, miles of brush, sandstone, and dust. Mark watched as Trevor cooked canned beans over the fire, chewing slowly. You ever hear the stories? Trevor asked. What? Skinwalker? Mark rolled his eyes. Yeah. Same pitch. Same rhythm I use when I call my dog. Mark had been asleep, but he woke up gasping, as if the air had been sucked from his lungs. Witches. Sounds like Halloween crap. Trevor didn't laugh. He stirred the beans without looking up. I heard something last time I was here, he said. Didn't see it. But it whistled. Mark raised an eyebrow. Trevor nodded. Mark chuckled. You sure it wasn't an echo? I didn't whistle. First warning. It was missing something, like it was being played from a dusty cassette tape. The wind changed around 1 a.m. It didn't howl. It stopped. Everything crickets whined. Then, from the darkness we wee-you, not loud, just close, like someone trying not to wake a sleeping baby. He sat up and looked across the fire pit. Trevor was gone. Mark scanned the shadows. Trev, no answer. Then, from the tree line, over here, it was Trevor's voice. Same tone, same drawl, but wrong. Mark grabbed his flashlight and rifle and moved toward the trees. The imitation, he found Trevor 20 yards from camp, standing completely still. His head tilted to the side like a confused animal. His arms hung limp. Mark raised the flashlight. Dude, you okay? Trevor didn't blink. Didn't move. Then, in a voice just a hair to slow-mo. Come, look, I found something. Mark didn't step forward. What is it? Trevor blinked once. Then, smiled too wide. Too clean. You. He slammed the tent shut, locked the rifle, and stayed awake till the sun painted the desert in gold. Then it twitched a glitch in motion, like something skipping frame sand, sprinted into the brush, crawling on all fours like a spider. Mark stumbled back to camp, heart slamming. The skin isn't yours, morning came, but Trevor didn't. Mark paced the camp, calling out, searching the trail, circling the truck, yelling his cousin's name. No blood, no drag marks, just the echo of his own voice bouncing back. He didn't scream. He couldn't. Something told him the land was listening. Nothing. Around noon, he found Trevor's hoodie nailed to a Joshua tree. It was inside out, and inside the hood was hair. Human, short, dark, clotted with dust and sweat. Mark backed away. He packed everything by 3 p.m. But the truck wouldn't start. Battery was fine. Fuel was full. Then he found the real problem. The engine was full of teeth. Human teeth. Every time his eyes started to close, he heard that whistle again. Perfectly white, arranged like they'd been placed one by one. The hunter becomes the hunter. He stayed one more night. He built a massive fire, sat with his rifle aimed at the dark, and didn't blink. The eye wasn't looking at Mark, it was just glassy. At midnight, something stepped into the edge of the firelight. It wasn't Trevor. It had his face. Yes, but it wasn't connected right. The skin sagged around the cheek. No explanation. Mark didn't question it. The thing spoke. Mark, it whispered. I made you dinner. It opened its mouth. Inside was a small, severed finger, still warm, still twitching. Mark crawled out, bleeding, dazed, rifle gone, phone crushed. Mark fired once dead center in the chest. The thing didn't fall. The boots. The mole above the lip. His voice, now perfect. It laughed, collapsed into the sand, and crawled backward into the darkness like a crab. Escape attempt by morning. The truck started. He drove like hell through the desert trail, steering with one hand, gripping the rifle with the other. He didn't see the figure standing in the road until he was 50 feet away. He swerved. The truck hit a rock and rolled sideways. Airbags deployed. The thing stood 10 feet away. Now it had a new skin. Not Trevor's marks, it was him. Down to the jacket. I found you, it said. You left your skin. Then it charged. The last memory, they say Mark was found 2 days later by hikers naked, burned. and raving about the man with no eyes. He was committed to a facility in Flagstaff, where he refused to speak for months. When he finally talked, he said this: "It waits in the land between sound and silence. It doesn't kill you right away. It learns you, mimics you, wears you, and then it becomes you. And the worst part isn't when it kills you, it's when your friends think it's still you." Epilogue. Whistle hikers still go missing near Dead Horse Road. Every time authorities write it off as dehydration, exposure, or animal attacks. But sometimes, campers report hearing whistling, and, once in a while, a man walks out of the desert, completely unharmed. He always says the same thing: "I'm fine, just got lost." But ask him to say his own name, and he'll pause, just for a second. Wes's story that morning. I confronted Wes. "Why didn't you ever leave?" He stared into his coffee. "Because James never came back. James was our cousin, disappeared when we were 10. Everyone thought he ran away." Wes looked up at me. "He didn't run. He was taken from under the house."
A sword.
The trap. I decided to end it. I bought cameras, motion lights, and rigged a trigger on the crawlspace door. Wes begged me not to, but I had to know. At 1:03 a.m., the lights flickered. At 1:08, the trap tripped. I ran to the kitchen. The hatch was open. The floor was soaked in something dark. The cameras, fried. Wes was gone. Inside the crawlspace, I crawled in with a flashlight and my uncle's old revolver. The smell hit first rotten meat and sulfur. The space was narrow, barely tall enough to crouch. Every beam looked like it was soaked in moisture. I followed the trail. That's when I saw it. Not Wes. James curled up in the corner, pale, eyes wide, mouth sewn shut with thin black threads. He pointed behind me. I turned. There it was. The Rake. It was hunched, head tilted like a dog listening to a whistle only it could hear. Skin stretched over sharp bones, mouth lined with human teeth. It didn't charge. It crawled toward me. The escape. I fired twice. It didn't scream. It didn't bleed. But it vanished into the dark, leaving only a trail of wet handprints that disappeared halfway across the crawlspace. I dragged James out. Wes was never found. 3 weeks later, James hasn't spoken. Doctors say he might never, but sometimes, when the house is quiet, he starts scratching the walls, and every now and then, under the floorboards, I hear it scratch back. We don't talk about what lives under the house anymore, not since James disappeared. The words rang in my ears as I rolled into the gravel driveway of my uncle's old property in rural North Carolina. My cousin Wes had called me after 5 years of silence, his voice shaky, nearly breaking through the static of bad cell service. "I need help, Levi." It came back. The cabin looked worse than I remembered. Roof sagging, porch steps rotting out, moss climbing the walls like veins. Wes stood on the porch, thinner than I remembered, dark bags under his eyes. He didn't say much, and just nodded and gestured me inside. The first night I dumped my duffel bag in the guest room and sat down at the old dining table. The place still smelled like damp wood and mildew. "You still sleep here alone? No one wants to stay." "I've had 6 roommates since college. They all left. One of them jumped through the window to get out." Wes shook his head. "Because of what?" He swallowed. "The crawl space. It's not just rats." I laughed under my breath. "Seriously?" He didn't smile. "You'll see." Scratching sounds that night. It started scratching, faint, like a raccoon digging through insulation. Then came a slow, rhythmic thumping just beneath the floorboards under my bed. Not fast, not violent, just intentional. I got up and stepped into the hallway. Wes was already there, back pressed to the wall, holding a bat. "You hear it?" he whispered. "It always starts under your room." The crawlspace door. The next morning, Wes showed me the crawlspace entrance, an old wooden hatch bolted shut under the kitchen. "Don't open it," he said. "Doesn't matter what you hear. You've ever seen it?" His eyes darkened. "Once. Second night." Movement. Wes stood at the door, shaking his head slowly. At 3:12 a.m., something slid beneath my mattress. I jumped up, heart thumping, only to find the room empty. But the sheets were bunched like something had crawled out from under me. The hallway light flickered on. Research. I spent the day on forums, reading about local legends. One kept coming up. The Rake. Descriptions matched. Pale, hairless, humanoid, crawling on all fours, moving like broken marionette strings, said to torment its victims over several nights, mentally breaking them down. Then it takes them. Night 3, closer at 2:44 a.m. I woke up to something breathing right next to my face. I didn't move. I couldn't. Then came the whisper, not words, just air moving through teeth. A low rattling exhale. When I finally dared to open my eyes, there was nothing but a long, grey fingerprint dragged across the window glass from the inside. The blizzard hadn't let up in 2 days. Snow hammered the window like fists trying to break in. Inside the one-room ranger cabin, Cole Foster sat wrapped in 2 coats, a shotgun across his lap. His breath clouded in the air like smoke. Their snowmobiles were useless now, buried under 6 feet of powder. The trailer was gone. They were alone, or at least they had been, until the screams started last night. The radio had gone silent that morning. He and 2 other men, Ray, a retired trapper, and Benny, a young seasonal ranger, were stuck in this frozen hell above Timber Pass. Cole hadn't slept, not after what he'd seen dragging Benny's body into the tree line. A man. What they found wasn't just a corpse. It was more like a ragged skin bag, hollowed out, ribs torn open like broken antlers. No blood, no footprints, no sign of animals. But wrong, he whispered. The 3 of them joked around, cooked beans over the wood stove, and told stories about dumb campers. It hadn't walked like a man. Day 1, 2 weeks ago. The cabin was supposed to be a routine winter outpost. Just a week of monitoring poachers and checking trail cams in the Montana back. That changed the day Ray came back from checking the northern traps, pale and shaking. There's a carcass in the woods. He swore the forest breathed. They followed Ray out to the pines. Just wide claw marks in the trees, 12 feet high. Said he'd rather freeze than stay another night. Cole stared at the tree line. It's not a bear. It's not a man. Day 3. Wet. Crunching sounds from the roof. His eyes went sunken, and his skin turned pale. He swore something was watching him from behind the stove. Benny heard the voice first, like routing meat thawing in the sun. It caught from the trees just past dusk. Hell, I'm cold. But when they opened the cabin door and shined the flashlight, nothing was there, just wind and snow. Then Benny got feverish. That night, Ray woke Cole in a panic. Benny's gone. They searched outside, found 1 set of boot prints leading into the woods, and claw tracks dragging something back out. Day 4. Ray wanted to leave. Cole tried the radio again. Static. Something's hunting us, Ray whispered. That night, they heard chewing. Ray loaded his rifle. If it comes for me, don't let it take me alive. They barricaded the door. Sat in silence. Then came the smell. Day 5. Present. Ray left in the night. Cole woke to find the door open and Ray's boots still inside. Only his bare footprints led into the trees. Barefoot, in a blizzard. On the wall, written in soot from the fireplace, were the words, "It's hungry." Cole didn't eat that day. He sat by the fire with a shotgun and stared at the trees. The wind whispered things in voices he recognized. Benny, Ray, his father. It was trying to wear him down. He wasn't sure if it was night or day anymore. Just white and cold and silence. That night he heard footsteps in the attic crawlspace. Dragging, slithering. Cole raised the shotgun. He whispered, "Is that you?" A voice responded from above. "Cole, I'm so cold." The ceiling creaked. Nails scratched on wood. He aimed upward. Just as something punched through the trapdoor and screamed. Flashback Ray's journal. It's the Wendigo. Eyes like frozen pits. It mimics voices. Feeds on men. You feel it before you see it. A hunger that isn't yours. If I turn, don't let me live. He chewed leather from his boot to keep his jaw moving. Hunger clawed at him from the inside. Present, final day. Cole hadn't slept in 48 hours. He kept the fire going with broken furniture. The food was gone. Then, at dusk, he heard the door creak open. He raised the shotgun. Just snow swirling in, and a shape standing at the tree line. Bone thin, antlers scraping the sky. Its chest pulsing like something alive inside. It whispered in Benny's voice, "Cole, let me in." He fired. The blast blew snow into the air. But the thing didn't move. It tilted its head and smiled. That's when Cole realized it wasn't outside the cabin anymore. It was inside. Final journal entry. Found weeks later by rescue crew. I lasted 5 days, I think, maybe 6. On men who lose hope. On those who'd rather eat than die. The Wendigo is real. It feeds on isolation. It whispered to me. One frozen corpse identified as Ray Trenton. Partially eaten. Benny Collins' body never recovered. It offered warmth. Said I'd never be cold again. I said yes. I feel so warm now. I think I'll go outside. I'm not hungry anymore. Rescue report. March 3rd, 2025. Timber Pass Ranger cabin was found abandoned. Cole Foster's boots were found by the door. Tracks led into the woods. Barefoot. They never came back. And the trees smelled like meat.